Back in 1962, Agri Supplies started with a simple creed: provide good, solid products at a fair price. Add in stellar customer service and you have the best option. There's 9 locations across North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, and Georgia, and their robust online ordering makes it easy for anyone in the world to experience the Agri way. Don't hesitate. Go to agrisupply.com to find just the product you're looking for. The Carolina All Out Fence, Fur, and Feathers podcast is brought to you by Carolina All Out Apparel. Shop at our online stores for hats, shirts, koozies, and much more. Carolina All Out Apparel. Express the lifestyle you live.
It's the Carolina All Out Fins, Fur, and Feathers podcast with Chris Douglas, where the conversation covers all things in the NC outdoors pertaining to hunting and fishing. Like and subscribe to get all the hunting and fishing info from the top guides, locals, and conservation agencies. Hear from biologists and professionals in the field about what things matter to you most. From the studios in Lemon Springs, North Carolina, your host, Chris Douglas.
And welcome to the Carolina All Out Fence, Fur, and Feathers podcast, brought to you by our friends at Carolina Cooker. This is where people who love the outdoors come to find out about the great state of North Carolina and what she has to offer. I'm your host, Chris Douglas, and today in the studio, we have the North Carolina state record flathead catfish holder, say that fast, tournament angler, TikTok phenom, and a number of other social media phenoms, there we can say that, and fish brand owner and all-around good guy from Pikeville, North Carolina, Mr. Tyler Barnes. Tyler, thank you for coming in.
Well, thank you for having me, Chris.
Yeah, we've been bouncing around each other for some time, and Tyler's all over the place in North Carolina fishing for catfish tournaments and actually putting out a lot of content there for people to view. And we were, before the show started, we're having a conversation about all that, and we might get into that a little bit there because it is, when I say a phenom, it is kind of something we've never experienced before in this world, in my world, and it's becoming bigger and bigger all the time, and people like yourself are learning to capitalize on it, and it's a good thing for catfishing because I judge all things by what it does for my passions. And when it comes to hunting and fishing, if it's a positive thing, then I'm going to back it up. And so this is good. You're teaching a lot of people a lot of stuff. So we're thankful for you to be in the studio today. And we're just going to talk with Tyler about himself, who he is, what he's, how he got started, because I know a lot of people are going to be interested in this podcast and getting into the head of Tyler, because Tyler is the man to beat at tournaments around the state, and I guess outside of the state some now. Are you doing some tournaments outside of the state?
Well, I'm starting to branch out a little bit. Yeah, I've always, of course, focused here locally on the Noose, Cape Fear, Tar Rivers, Roanoke Rivers, and stuff like that. But I have started venturing out James River, out of state a little bit. Did a tournament this spring back in Alabama. So I've kind of been bouncing around everywhere.
You think that'll be somewhere you're expanding to, or are you going to try to hold it here?
It is hard to leave what you're most comfortable with and what you've grown up doing.
Right.
So, but no, definitely as time goes on, I'll definitely be, branching out, hitting different bodies of water, meeting new people and things like that. Because man, that's what I live for.
Yeah. Well. You can tell. You can tell it in all of his content. It's nothing but catfish. Every now and then you'll do something down at the coast.
Every once in a while. So a couple of times a year I do like to go to Cape Lookout and do some surf fishing and stuff like that, 2 or 3 days. Coming up in October, I might take a trip for 2 or 3 days after some bull rids from the surf or something. Yeah, that's always a good time, man. Always a good time. Yeah,
it's good. I think I saw a couple of whiting, people call them
sea mullet.
Sea mullet. So yeah, I like to eat them. I like whiting. So so that's good. Well, let's get right into this for everyone. Now I know you're hailing from Pikeville now. Talk to me about where you're originally from, and we'll just kind of start into the background of Tyler there.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, I've grown up in a little old town, Pikeville, North Carolina. We got one stoplight, right? So I've actually lived there my whole life with my father. I used to work at a local store in Pikeville. At the time, it was a Walmart Express, which I kind of worked there through college a little bit. And now I actually sell insurance at a Pikeville Insurance Agency that's been there since the 60s. So I've been there for 8 years now selling insurance. A lot of people don't know that about me, but that is my career and that's what I do. But when I find the time, I try to spend most of my hours out on the river somewhere doing some type of catfishing.
Right.
Yep.
Now, for everyone, people who don't know, Pikeville, that would be, is that Wayne County?
It is Wayne County.
Wayne County, near Goldsboro. So if you know where, and that would be the Neuse River that you would kind of, I would assume you started if that's where you were.
Yep, that's where I started at, Chris. See, when I was a little boy, my father, that's how I got into catfishing, was from my dad. And a lot of people's like that. They learn it from their dad or a family member. But for me, it was with my dad. And what we used to enjoy the most, he actually passed away when I was 18 years old. But before all this, backing up, we spent most of our time when we were doing something together was fishing. Most of the time it was at the Outer Banks, whether Cape Lookout or Portsmouth Island. And in his big thing in his lifetime was drum fishing. He loved the thrill. He loved, wading out and on the sandbars, throwing out the big takedowns, the drag peeling, and he just loved that adrenaline rush. And as I was growing up into that, I learned to love it. Later on, we started getting into catfishing. I think the first time I ever went catfishing was probably when I was about 12 years old, right on the Neuse River. At the time, we didn't have a boat. We weren't really big into it. We were always, hey, who do we know? Where can we go? Just to fish anywhere from the bank, a sandbar, anywhere at the boat ramp, no matter where it is. I mean, because unless you know people or you have a boat to go somewhere, whether it's a sandbar or wherever it is, or if you want to fish from a boat, you didn't really have anywhere to go but right there at the bank, wherever you could access.
Right.
So that's what we would do, is we would spend our time. It actually became pretty addicting because it's something that's very similar to bull drum fishing. Really, it is, almost the same rigs, same, cut bait essentially, and maybe live bait too. It's pretty much the same thing. So I think that's why my dad started liking it so much, because there's monster catfish out there. They pull good. They're a great fight. And it's more local. So getting more involved into the catfishing, I became to really, as just a little boy, enjoy the sport. We used to go, like, man, it almost seemed like, Chris, it was every weekend. We were going to the river, catching fish. And I remember, all these trips of going and catching, 10, 15 pound catfish. And when you're a little boy, you're like, man, this is the biggest fish in the world. This thing is huge. It's huge. But there was one trip, I was probably around 14, that we went, and we actually had hooked into a 50+ pound flathead. First one ever, of that caliber. So,
and that was on the Neuse, right?
On the Neuse,
right.
just camping on a sandbar in August. I believe it was August 12th. Yeah, and I believe that was the exact day, August 12th. So I don't forget things like that. So, very, very big catfish. So it was kind of went something like this, to where we were camping on a sandbar. It was me and my dad, and then on the other end, because it was a fairly large spot, on the other end was my uncle and one of his friends at the time, and my dad had walked over here with them and just left me here to watch the 3 poles, and I was just sitting here in my fold-out chair, and I got 3 rods, and we'd use PVC pipe rod holders to hold the rods, and and I'm sitting there, I'm kind of anxious, because I'm still young, and I'm like, okay, I'm just hanging out there down there, and I'm watching these rods, and all of a sudden this one rod gets a hard thump, and it just starts going down real slow, and it like completely straightens out, and I pick the rod up, and it starts just pulling, drag, and I'm like, Dad, help, help, we got a big one, and he's walking over there all, giggling, laughing, like, oh, it's whatever, So he gets over there, and I'm fighting. I'm like, man, I'm telling you, this is big, and he's laughing, thinking a little fish. Well, we finally get it up to the bank, and he's like, oh my gosh, man, and I'm tripping out, and he grabs this fish, and we get it on the bank, and Chris, this thing is big, man. This thing is so big, and from that point on, I think that kind of like turned something on in my brain or something, man. And ever since then, I've wanted to go and catch these fish and learn, and eventually started getting a boat. The first boat that we got was and I fished off of it for a long time. It was just a 14-foot aluminum boat with a 6 horsepower Evinrude, and I had a couple PVC pipe rod holders. Well, we got that later on in the years, 17 years old, something like that. We'd continue to fish from the bank. It seemed like at this time period, even my friends didn't really catfish. Nobody on social media that I really seen catfish to that caliber. It was kind of like a ghost, I guess you could say. But over the past several years, man, catfishing is just like out of nowhere. It's just boom. It is taking off like crazy. There's all kinds of great companies coming out with catfishing products, sponsors, and I mean, it's just tournaments blowing up across the country. Some of these tournaments there was one in Mississippi that just paid out over $200,000 for a catfish tournament. Yeah, Mississippi River Monster. Incredible. I mean, that's just amazing. But backing up a little bit, and I don't want to drag on too much, but going to this boat here, that's what I started eventually saying, well, I'm stuck to these sandbars, but if I have a boat, we can kind of put in and start fishing from the boat, just learning new tactics, and it's kind of just grown from there. Tactics, evolution, pretty much. So that's pretty much how I got started into it, Chris, is just from my father. There's some trips, and we all experience trips, whether it's hunting, fishing, whatever it is, that really just you don't forget.
Right.
And that changes your whole outlook on everything, potentially forever. So
yeah, just
that one night fishing on the bank is really it's never left me.
Do you think that your personality, which, I have an opinion of your personality just from knowing you the short period of time that I have, but, how can I describe it? Well, an A-type personality that is really driven to do that. Do you think this is to do anything? I'd say just about anything that you put your hand to. You think that's part of what's caused this thing that's going on with you now?
Chris, I'm going to be honest with you. So I am, I'm a super competitive person, very competitive. So that kind of led into the tournament side of things, right?
Right.
So,
I can see that.
As far as, and my dad was the same way, whether it was fishing tournaments or if it was race car, because that's what he used to do, was race too. And he was just super competitive in that. Sometimes I say it's a blessing to be competitive. Sometimes it's a curse, because a person that's super competitive like myself, I don't like to lose. So how do you not lose? You go fishing.
Right.
And how long do you fish? You don't stop.
Right.
You keep fishing, you keep going. And that's kind of what's, clicked with me, man. Tournament fishing has been a huge part of the urge to learn these fish. The more that I know about these fish, the more I know how they're moving, the better I'm going to do in tournaments. And just you like to win. I mean, that's how it is. And so I'm just being super competitive. As far as like you said, personality goes, you still, whether you're competitive or not, it's always just a great idea to be respectful to everybody around you. All your anglers, help people too. It's the more that I've gotten into it, and I've been tournament fishing since I was 18. I'll be 29 tomorrow.
I'll go ahead and early happy birthday.
Well, appreciate it.
I won't sing.
no, come on, Chris. What?
I won't sing.
You won't? Okay.
I don't know. You might talk me into it, but no, not right now.
So, I mean, we'll just say for the past 10 years, I've been really, really hard on the tournament fishing. Almost, Chris, and some people say, Tyler, how do you do it? I mean, because when you love to do something, you don't have to force yourself to do it, because you look forward to doing it. It's your passion. And Chris, I mean, there's not many weekends out of the year that I'm not catfishing. I mean, and that's over the past 10 years, and I don't plan to stop.
Right.
Because it's what I like to do, and I only want to get better. And it's like it's hit at such a great time, because around when I started tournament fishing is around the same time this catfish boom has just taken off. So I'm essentially growing with the sport, and it just makes it even more addicting to go fishing and to learn. And now I've gotten to the stages of where social media is, learning about it and being so passionate about social media and making YouTube videos, TikTok, whatever it may be, that I really enjoy, fishing on live camera sometimes and showing people what we're doing and catching fish on camera, showing people to fish. I think that's super cool. And just, recently, putting more tips and tricks and how-to out. And it's just amazing to see just how much the sport's grow. I mean, and I don't know if it's going to stop, really.
Right.
It's getting insane. It really is.
Well, I want to talk about the whole sport itself, outside of Tyler Barnes and what it is doing, because I think it's important. We have a resource. Now, we've talked about this before in the show. We'll get into our show that we shot together. But one of the topics that we talked about on that with the biologists, with Corey and Ben, was that these are invasive species that are here. But they're here, and that goes for a lot of the East Coast where they shouldn't be. And now they're here, so capitalization has happened. We're starting, these tournaments are happening, and it's a good thing. It's really become a good thing for us. And I suppose that at this point that the ecology of everything is going to have to settle in. Fish are going to have to figure out how to survive with these things in the rivers.
They got to hide somewhere.
You got to hide somewhere, because it's just like I find places, something I didn't know that I've learned since we've been doing the show is that red breast sunfish are like flathead candy.
Yep.
And I don't know if they taste better to them or that they possibly live where they like to be in fast-moving water or more moving water, that is something that the catfish can target better or whatever. I don't know if any studies have been done there, but it is what's happening. So there's a species of fish that I really love that is having a hard time in certain places because of the flathead. But, that's where they're going to have to learn. They still are surviving in certain places, so they're going to have to adapt, I suppose, because these catfish are not going away from here.
No, they're here to stay.
They're here to stay, and so here we go with this phenomenon of catfishing that's grown from something as a boy. My grandfather loved catfishing, but he loved to eat them. And so that was his thing,
Sure.
From the old school guys. And so I learned to love catfish and always thought it was a treat to be able to catch one and then, be able to take them in and, we fry them up. Catfish nuggets hard to beat,
Yeah, it is.
Especially those channel cats. So that is, we've gone from a fish that would feed people to a fish that entertains people in a large way. I mean, let's talk about real quick your TikTok and what you have going on with TikTok. How many followers you have on that?
I think on TikTok we're just over 78,000. I think so.
78,000 people are watching you, and your content is pretty much, what do you say, 99% catfishing?
Pretty much, whether it's something relating to catfishing most of the time, man. Like you said, every once in a while I may throw a little brim fishing video out or something, or it may be surf fishing, but most of the time it's catfishing. Yeah,
catfishing. So you've got 78,000 people find it in their best interest to follow you. Now this is just in the TikTok universe, not including Facebook. Is what?
68,000.
68,000. So we're. I mean, once you put all your platforms together, you're going to be over 200,000 people there across the country are watching you to see what you catch next, but also because they have an interest. They might find something or see something that they can learn from potentially or be entertained by. So that's pretty strong following there for someone on just in a niche like
catfishing,
or a niche, I should say. That's what all they're saying. We used to say niche back in our day, but I guess niche is the better thing to say now. So keep it going here. We're already about 20 minutes in, but this is great. We're getting some good information there. Let's talk about your first tournament, competitive fishing when you first started it, and then you talked about that switch turning on. Now maybe this thing really showed you what makes Tyler tick that he didn't even know.
So, I think right around somewhere it was in between like age of 18 to 19. My uncle, he was on Facebook one day, and there was these group of guys, and they made a tournament page, and they said, here's the rules of the tournament, whatever. So my uncle calls me, and he says, Tyler, he said, man, you need to go on Facebook and look at this tournament. He said, man, I think you should fish that. And, you know, I ain't never done one. I was like, man, I don't know about this, man. You know, I'm like, maybe. I said, no. So at the time, I was with my fishing with my brother-in-law pretty heavy. And I was like, man, I said, let's just go do it. I mean, what we got to lose, you know? So we go fish. And, you know, we're fishing and whatever. We come to the weigh-in. Let me back up. When we get to the tournament to sign up, there's all these boats, man, and these guys are, like, decked out. Like, they got super nice rigs, electronics, like, rod racks. And I'm like, Brian, we're in this little thing over here. I was like, man, we are going down, man.
Talk to me. Let's back up. Was this the little John boat you were talking about, the little Lemon, or is this a little bit upgraded?
I think I might have upgraded to, like, a 17-foot by the time I was that age. So, so it wasn't in the 14. It was like a 16 or 17-foot polar craft or something. We just
so it wasn't aluminum, but it was
no, it was an aluminum polar craft. Yep,
aluminum polar craft.
It was like 17 foot or something with like a 40, 50 horsepower, like Evan Root or something.
Okay.
So we made it work. It wasn't something super fancy or nothing. And of course, you don't need something super fancy anyway. But anyway, that's a different story. But we get here and, you know, I'm intimidated. I'm like, bro, man, these guys are for real. I said, they're the real deal, man. So anyway, we enter and we fish. Well, we fish all night. Well, come to the weigh-in. We caught some good fish and weighed in. And, I mean, we got second place out of, I don't know, maybe like 20-something boats. Uh-huh. And I'm like, just like a light turned on. I was like, oh, my gosh. I was like, dude. You know what we just did, man? We just got second place out of all these people. Uh-huh. And so that kind of instantly, going back to me being a competitive person, I was like, where's the next one?
Right.
Where's the next one? So then the next one we fished, we got first place. Uh-huh. And I'm like, okay.
What year was this?
Oh, man. So let me see. 10 years ago, like 2000, it's probably like 2015, 2015, 14, 15, maybe. I'd have to really go back and really look to see the exact tournament. But I just remember it was super hot. The very first tournament was right there at on Whitetail Landing beside Easy Bait and Tackle in Goldsboro.
Right.
And that's where we'd kind of meet up and launch. And in that particular tournament, I think pretty much you come in, and that's how a lot of these tournaments are now. You come to one location, you sign up, you leave, you go to any section of river you want to, but you meet back at the same time. So that's kind of how this was. But we just launched right there at the boat ramp. And I think we caught like a 48-pound flathead and like two other flatheads in the 20s or something. But a fantastic night. But the guy that won, he came in with some massive fish. I was like, man, I don't know where them things come from. But this was still, Chris, in the time of like, you know, it's all new, fishing tournaments. I'm seeing other people are into it, and it ain't just me.
Right.
That really helped as far as I already love to do it, but now I thrive to do it because there's other people that are really putting in time, to really wanting to learn, to really fishing tournaments. And it just, when you got other people around you in the same environment that love doing what you're doing, it even ignited just a bigger fire. And I'm like, man, we're going at this thing. We're every night of the week if we got to. We're going to figure out these fish. And it's just been nuts ever since.
Right. Well, it's got to be inspiration. I mean, I feel inspired there just knowing that you're sitting there looking. When you first walk up and you see all those the uniforms, you know, there might have been some sparkle boats in there. You know, they're telling what all they had in there. You know,
I'm telling you, they were decked out, man.
But you know, and I guess the catfish is not a sparkle boat because that'd be the bass fisherman. It'd be more of or glitter boats as some people like to call them. Yeah. But more aluminum boat would be the catfisherman soup du jour. I'm assuming the typical equipment that a catfisherman would have would be that, I would assume.
Most of them were, in 18, 20 foot, 22 foot aluminum boats, some jet drive boats. I mean, just some super nice, just some $high stuff, man. I'm like, geez, bro, this is crazy.
There's old Tyler and his
a little old
17-foot polar craft over there.
We're getting it done, but y'all got to start somewhere, and that's something with catfishing too. It's not really, and that just is a proven fact too, Chris. Like one thing that I want people to know, and as far as my social media platforms, like educating and tips and tricks and stuff, is catfishing. When you ask somebody, hey, man, have you ever been catfishing? They say, yeah, man, I use chicken livers off the... Look, that is so 50 years ago. Like catfishing is so much more evolved than chicken livers on the bank.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with that. But I mean, these fish, I mean, we're using brim, eel, shad, spending all of this money to keep this bait alive because, I mean, realistically, I mean, that's what these fish are feeding on. They're not eating chicken livers, floating down the river, what I mean? But my goal is to really just educate people in just showing, look at these tournaments, look at how it's evolving, get in it, get involved. It's a lot of fun. It's a great time. And there's more than just a chicken liver on the bank on a Saturday night. It's so much more. It's becoming a very, very professional sport from where it was. It really is getting insane.
Well, all the equipment is coming out now. I mean, rod companies. I mean, your sponsor, talking about, let's see the rod company there that you have.
Catch the Fever.
Catch the Fever. Okay, so Catch the Fever is basically built their whole thing around catfish. I would say. Everything.
Yep.
So there it is, a company that can come in and be as strong as they are and only be pushing for catfish is amazing, as opposed to others who are trying to touch it all.
It's incredible.
Yeah,
it
incredible. Really is.
And like you said, as the sport's growing, there's a more need for catfish products. It just is. And there's so many techniques. There's so much more, Chris, than just fishing on the bottom. I mean, these people are trolling, pulling planer boards for these fish. I mean,
I've seen that. I've been a part of that before out on Carr Lake. That's amazing.
It is crazy, and it's just a lot of fun, and it's like we talked about, these fish are here to stay, Chris. You might as well go out and enjoy them. Enjoy these fish and get on the bandwagon because it's going up. It's just going to keep growing.
And it's going up. Well, that's a good place for us to kind of take a break here. We're going to take a break from the Fins, Fur, and Feathers podcast. We are with Tyler Barnes, Mr. Tyler Barnes, the man to beat in the tournaments out there in North Carolina for catfish. And he's got a lot of stuff going on out there as far as content. You need to check him out for sure. We're going to break, and we appreciate you all here with us, and we'll be talking more with Tyler Barnes after these messages. Keeping up with Carolina All Out is easy. Check us out on Facebook and Instagram. Like and follow to keep up with the All Out crew and our friends with posts, stories, and reels that will inspire you to get outdoors. There's some things in life that just makes you feel good when you see it. And something cooking in an old black cast iron skillet does it for me. There's nothing like it. And if it does it for you, then my friends over at Carolina Cooker have just the equipment you need for outdoor cooking, camping, kitchen accessories, and food processing. Check out carolinacooker.com to order from their huge selection and also find a store near you that carries the brand born in the Carolinas. Carolina Cooker, tools, cooks, legends, you create the tradition. And welcome back to the Carolina All Out Fins, Fur, and Feathers podcast. I'm Chris Douglas, your host, and we are excited to have Mr. Tyler Barnes in the studio. And just to recap for those who may or may not know Tyler, Tyler's got a lot going on. A young man, big cat fisherman, cat man, if you will, and who is winning tournaments around the state and is doing a good thing on social media because he's teaching people and teaching people about catfishing. And I feel like if there's anything that you can do to give back to what you love, it is by helping others take up the sport, take up the cause, and to teach them, because that's our job. And so that's the way we feel at Carolina All Out, because we are not just catfishing. We do everything in North Carolina, but we are about the outdoors. And so we want people to learn. We want to inspire people to get into the outdoors and to experience these things. So that's what we show them on TV. And no doubt Tyler's inspiring lots of young cat fishermen and older cat fishermen as well. And so they're watching this content and trying to find out what to do. So Tyler, one of the things we mentioned at the very beginning of the show was that you are the North Carolina State Flathead Catfish record holder.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we're going to go into that story there because we think it's important. So, hey, okay, let's talk about state records. Probably across the board, if you look at state records, they are caught by the potential casual fisherman, not the guy who goes after it day in, day out. So we say this, it couldn't have happened to a nicer guy.
Well, I
It
appreciate
couldn't
that.
have happened to a guy that was going after it as much. It makes sense for Tyler to catch the state record. So just lay it out for me. What river, what we were doing, the whole thing there. Did you set out to catch a state record? All that sort of stuff.
Oh man, Chris. Yeah, so every time you go, you're trying to catch the biggest one, but no. I really how it went. There was well, it's actually it's going on for this year too at Easy Bait and Tackle in Goldsboro. They hold an annual catfish tournament. And it's pretty much how it goes is it's 2 months long, and whoever catches the biggest fish wins. Essentially, just like first, second, and third kind of deal.
Sure.
So let's back up to 2020. It was a July 20th of 2020. I set out to go to the Neuse River at Maple Cypress boat ramp in North Carolina. And I don't mind, listen, if people's like, Tyler, I ain't never going to tell you where you caught that. It really doesn't matter because I'm going to tell you guys, I'm going to get into the story here in a second, but I have fished that spot. Okay, first of all, the spot that I caught the fish in was the first time I've ever fished that spot ever and got lucky and caught the fish. I mean, it's just, essentially I'm targeting big fish, but to catch a state record fish is just a blessing beyond belief. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I'm the best in the world and caught this fish. It was meant to be. Honestly, it just was. And you're probably wondering if you're listening, well, Tyler, have you hit it again? I've hit it probably 100 times and have yet to catch anything sizable whatsoever. So it doesn't really matter, especially in a river system like the Neuse. These fish they can be anywhere. Water levels change. I mean, there's just so much to go into catfishing. But let's go to that night. So I spent that day, catching brim of various sizes and species, targeting these fish. And so I put in and I go to my first spot and, and I was like, okay, well, this is a good starting spot here. It's kind of a deeper area that I'm a fish. Hopefully, as the sun goes down, I can catch a good fish, leaving the deeper water to go into the shallows to feed. Well, I'm sitting there. And the rod starts going down, and it ends up being like a 5-pound channel catfish. I'm like, okay, well, there went my great spot, for the trip. So I'm gonna go on and hit a couple more spots. So from that spot, I sit there about 45 minutes, and I go to another area, and I sit there. Don't really have any luck. I said, well, I got another area that I really want to try. So I reel in my rods, and I'm going down the river. Well, on the front of my boat, I've got light bars and stuff so I can navigate and see clearly. And Chris, I'm going to tell you, one of the most unbelievable, and this is, man, I love to tell the story not only because of what happened, but the feeling that I had before this happened. So, Chris, when I tell you I was going down the river, heading to a spot I had in mind, and there's this tree. I mean, it's small. I mean, it's probably no wider than this room here, just laid in the water, little tree, And I'm looking at it as I go by, and I was like, I don't know, why does that appeal to me? Why does that appeal to me? So I keep on going, and I get this feeling, like a legit, just a feeling that it's in my head, like, Tyler, you need to turn around and hit this spot. You really need to go check that out. I said, nah. So I'm going to keep going. And then, Chris, it hit me like a brick. Like, I stopped the boat, and I was like, it was like spiritual, man. I'm telling you. Like, bro, I'm telling you, when I tell you that pretty much something bad was going to happen if I did not go fish this spot, that's how I felt. I was like, man, I might not make it to the ramp if I don't fish. So I said, I don't know what's going on with me, but I'm going to go fish it. I turned the boat around. I said, there's that tree. I said, how do I need to fish this tree? So I said, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually, instead of throwing to the tree, this time I'm going to float beside the tree and I'm going to throw on the backside. I said it creates a little current break on this backside. The water was up a little bit, not nothing like now. But it was up a little bit and flowing, but I could see there was like a little seam on the backside of this small tree as the tree made a current break. So I sit there and I take, this big shell cracker. I mean, Chris, I'm telling you, I'm a huge fan of throwing big baits, okay? Like really big baits, like unreal. So I'll throw some big baits. I'll take the shell cracker that's literally big as both of my hands put together here. And I throw them out right behind this tree, essentially throwing upriver, something that I never really do. I don't throw upriver because that's a good way to get hung up or you always throw it down the current. But this time I said, we're just going all out. You know what I mean? We're going all out, man. I'm telling you. So I throw up and I'm on the phone with a buddy of mine and I said, just make it small. I'm by myself, I'm by myself. So I'm sitting there on the phone and I'm like, just chit-chatting. And the rod that I threw upriver, it made a hard thump, like a thump, and it started rocking the rod. And I told my buddy Jacob, I was like, bro, something just grabbed his shell cracker. I said, let me call you back. He said, really? I said, yeah, let me call you back. Hung up with him. And Chris, I go up to the rod, and keep in mind, normally with these circle hooks, you have to wait for the fish to pull down in the backbone of the rod to set the hook. Don't reel down, don't snatch, nothing. You pretty much got to let him set the hook. But in this situation, I knew that I throwed upriver right beside a tree. I was like, man, this thing's going to just run me right through this tree. So as he's thumping and he's rocking the rod, he's kind of like pumping it down a little bit, pumping it down. He's going. So I picked the rod up in my hand real gently, and I kind of like hold it to the side of the boat. And as he's pulling it, I can still feel he's pulling. I said, okay, I'm going to let him pull a little harder, and then I'm going to do an artificial hook set. I'm going to like kind of sweep the rod to simulate a takedown pretty much. So, and let me tell you, and I'm thinking, what is it? It could be whatever. I mean, big bait, but a big bait don't always mean big fish. Catch a 20-pound flathead on a giant bait. So I sweep into this fish, and let me tell you something. It shocked me so bad. I was stunned because when I pulled back, he pulled back.
Right.
And it was like ripping drag out of my hand, and I'm like cranking the drag down because I'm like, man, I'm right beside this thing, this tree.
Right.
And this fish is splashing and boom, I mean, just going ballistic. Instantly, I said, this is a blue catfish because blues come to the top and they'll start spinning and pop in the water. Flathead's going to be on the bottom,
Right.
However, I was only fishing about 3 feet of water.
Yeah, he didn't have anywhere to go, did he?
So when I pulled back, he was like, what? What's going on? So he took off, man, and was going nuts, splashing. I feel like he almost ran onto the bank over there. So, I'm telling you, there was a huge ruckus. Well, when I started pulling back on him, he come at me, and then behind the boat like a bottle, like 100 miles an hour, and he was just pulling, it was unreal. And I'm like, and I've caught some big fish, but I knew this was different. Still in the mindset, it's a big blue catfish. Like, every once in a while, we'll sneak up on 60, 70-pound blue cat on the Neuse River. Now, as hard as that is to believe, that's what I'm thinking. I mean, because I've seen it happen. I've caught my biggest blue is 68 on the Neuse. And, it's a little old river. But anyway, as this fish is going behind the boat, just pulling drag, my heart is racing. Normally I can stay calm with the big fish, but it shocked me so bad that I was like almost fumbling, like, get it together, man, So I turn the fish around, he comes at me, and I'm pulling this fish up and down, right beside the boat. And I'm like, man, it ain't but 3 feet of water, and I cannot see this fish. And I'm pulling, he is holding the bottom. And I'm like, God, please let me just see this fish. Let me just see him.
Right. Now you're talking to the Lord.
Yeah. Please help me. You know what I mean? Just let me see him. Well, he come to the top, and I said, oh, my goodness. So I hold the rod in my right hand as he's just sitting here on top, and I notice it's a flathead. I'm like, oh, man, you still don't know what you got. I'm like, he's a big one, though.
Right.
I grab my net with my left hand and try to get up under him. Then I realized he's so big that I can't get him to collapse in the net with the hard current.
Right.
So I'm in trouble. So I say, okay, let me get the net from under him. And when I do that and put the net in the boat, I'm fighting him with one hand, and he goes under the boat on the backside, and I feel like the rod's going to break, and it's completely bowed in half under the boat, ripping, and I'm like, please help me. Please let me get this fish. And then I fight him, and he goes under the boat, like around. And like, I'm like, this fish is going everywhere, man. And then I finally get him inside the boat again. And when he comes up, I said, it's all or nothing. So I set the rod in the boat. I've got my headlamp on, and I grab the braided line, and I'll pull up, and then I reach off the side of the boat, and I'm feeling for his mouth. And I'm like, where's he at? Okay, there's his head. Where's his bottom lip? I got it. Then let go of the line, grab him with my second hand, and on the bottom jaw, and picked him up and put him in the boat.
Man.
And I'm looking at this fish, man, and I'm like, wow, that's a big fish. That is a real big fish. And then I really start looking at him. I'm like, man, this thing is really big, way bigger than anything I've caught. And my biggest before that was 57 pounds. I said, man, this fish is way bigger. Called my buddy back, and I said, man, I got that fish. He said, yeah. He said, how big? I said, man, he's got to be 65 pounds. He's got to be. He's like, really? I was like, nah, maybe not, man. Maybe not. So long story short, grabbed the net, kind of cradle him in the net, take my scales, and weigh the fish by the net. I never weigh the fish by the fish. I always cradle him in something. And I weigh him in the net, and it's 81.6 or 82.6. And I'm like, I'm giggling. I set the net down. He's like, what? I said, man, this thing's telling me it's 82 pounds. And he starts laughing. But in my head, I'm like, I think that was right. So I reset the scales and I did it again. It was like 81 point something. And I'm like, doing the math. I'm like, okay, at the current time, the state record's 78 pounds even. Mm-hmm. And I do the math with the net. I'm like, dude, I think I've got a good shot at having the state record in this boat right now. Mm-hmm. Then fast forward, get the fish in our live well, which was made out of a toolbox at the time, which is very popular in the catfish world because you need such a big tank. So people would take these toolboxes and convert them with air pumps and circulating pumps and stuff like that. And long story short, fast forward, get the easy bait with the fish because they have certified scales there. And they have a big, I would probably say somewhere around 300-gallon tank probably in the front to hold these fish. So before I get there, I'm telling people there's like 30 people there, maybe more. It's like 2 in the morning at this point, 2:30. And we get there and my heart's racing. I'm like, man, I've got all these people here at 2:30 in the morning. What if he ain't that big? What if I'm messing up? I'm about to be embarrassed. And we take this fish, put him in the net. On camera, I've got the video from the time he left the live well, in the net, to the scale, everything. And let me tell you, when that fish hit the scale, and it said, because we took him out of the net up there and laid just the fish up there, and it was 78.9. I started crying. I had so many built-up emotions from the time I hooked the fish to the drive to the ramp, to the drive to Goldsboro, I'm just heart racing. I'm pure life. I feel like I'm gonna throw up. I'm just so, this will never happen again. If this ain't the time, and I'm thinking, what if it ain't the state record? What if I lose it by an ounce or two? I'm gonna be sick because I'm probably just a once in a lifetime fish. And for me to just go out and just on a random night and catch this fish on a spot that I've never fished in years. So many years I've been fishing, and I've never hit this spot, and to have that feeling, which has led to the state record, man, and that's just incredible. And then you look at the fact, Chris, before I caught that fish, the state record was 78 pounds, and that person held that record for 15 years. So then I got fortunate enough to break that record. And then you think and look at the facts of, you mean to tell me out of every angler in North Carolina with all of these tournaments that happen every weekend across the country, but just all over North Carolina, every weekend there's tournaments, multiple tournaments everywhere. Out of hundreds and thousands of anglers everywhere. I got lucky one night randomly on just a small little spot that I normally would never look at, and caught the biggest fish out of anybody in the state. It was the most unreal feeling that I'm so thankful for, and it's just, man, Chris, it's honestly been life-changing, honestly, since that moment.
Well, that when you say life-changing, my thought process is, let's talk quickly about how it has. I mean, there's got to be some level of propulsion. You've got more possibly brands that are looking at you now that you've gotten at. I mean, how has it changed?
Oh, man. Just from being, Chris, already trying to build my name in the industry, whether through tournament fishing or whatever it was, trying to build a name for myself, and social media and things like that, from catching that fish to being on the news, in so many articles, in so many other podcasts, in so many videos that have gotten millions and millions of views, videos that I've taken, other just stuff, man. The publicity from this catch has certainly led to a large amount of exposure for myself, which has led to other brand deals and sponsorships and being affiliated with companies and things like that. And quite honestly, it's probably led up to potentially how me and you got to do a show together. Yeah. And now we're sitting here doing a podcast talking about that's how it's changed my life. It's just amazing. It's just amazing. And now with that, I would like to think that, other anglers, whether they're young or growing up, they hopefully see my content and look at my content to potentially get involved. Because catfishing, like we talked about, is here to stay, and it's not going anywhere. And I know what it's done for me, and I know what it can potentially do for other people. And even if not necessarily saying a state record fish, which it could happen to anybody, I might get a phone call now and say, Tyler, you got beaten. That's fantastic. I'm going to go shake the man's hand. But it's the fact that it has really changed my life and just given me a whole purpose with my life. And that's what I like to do, Chris, is go fish tournaments, catfish, make videos about catfishing, how to, and get more people involved, because, man, there's just so many people that are missing out on such a fun, amazing sport. It's really crazy. And I sit out there so many days and just catch so many fish and big fish. And I'm like, how cool would this be? I would just love for everybody to be able to experience what I'm experiencing. And just it's crazy. So, but man, it's just really changed. It's changed everything to doing podcasts, seminars, just everything. It's an incredible moment in my life.
Do you feel that now you've become more of an ambassador for the fishery, for the sport?
I think so. Yeah, I would like to say so. I would like to see, my goal is when people think catfishing, and they may not now, but I want them to think of me, at least refer to me in some type of way. When catfish, well, that's Tyler. That's, you need to watch his stuff. You need to watch it. And I'm not going to quit until hopefully I get there someday, because I really do enjoy helping people, and I get messages every day, whether it's on Facebook somewhere, and sometimes it takes me a while to read them because I get so many messages, but I love to see when somebody asks me a question and then they go fishing and then they do it and they send me a picture, Tyler, you were right, it's called the biggest fish I ever caught. And I'm like, this is great. Then they're going to tell their friends and their buddies, and then I want people to know that I'm here, that I really hope people will start enjoying my content, and especially our YouTube channel. That's where we're really trying to put some time in. Just started it. But that's going to have that's going to be a way, instead of me getting bombarded with so many messages that I may or may not can answer efficiently, you can refer to my YouTube and stuff like that. So it's, we'll see how it goes with that, but it's just, Like I said, Chris, it's given me. We all look for a purpose in our life. Why am I here? What is my purpose?
Right.
Mine is to go catfishing and show people how to do it and how to and do these seminars and podcasts and stuff just to educate people and to get them involved in one of the best fishing sports I think we have available right here in North Carolina.
I would agree. Yeah, the growth of it, man, and the popularity of it. So many people around this area here in the Lee County, Chatham County, Harney County areas. There's a lot of people oriented toward catfishing. We have the Cape Fear River, we have the Haw, we have the Deep, and those are all close by, and people love it. So it's good. Well, I love I love what I'm hearing from you because we talked about this earlier with us before we started the show that inspiration. For us, for someone, we put a show out, someone sends us a message, they see us at the Dixie Deer Classic or one of the other shows, comes up to us personally and goes, man, I want you to know I saw you guys do this and I tried it and was successful at it. That's it. I'm complete now.
Yep, it was worth doing it. Yep.
I'm absolutely ecstatic about that because, those are the goals that we set out at the very beginning of this, and you can see what's going on with Tyler there, and that's very important. So I'm learning right along with everyone else about Tyler and what makes him tick and looking at the kind of man he is and the decisions made after you see something like a state record being called. I mean, this is not like winning the World Series or anything like that, but what it is something that's important to a lot of people in there, and so that's going to bring on a certain amount of attention, and then Tyler's not losing sight in that, and then he's continuing to say, hey man, I've got an opportunity, a bigger platform now to tell more people, to bring more people to the sport. That's a positive thing, and that's something to learn from somebody like that. So I like what I'm hearing from Tyler, and hopefully you guys are picking up on what he's saying there as well. Let's keep on rolling with this because it's good stuff. We have tried to get together. I don't know, man. We started the show in 2016, and I did a catfish show with Justin Rivestall, and I think Justin kind of hooked me up with you, kind of made that connection, and then we tried a number of times. But I'll say this about Tyler now: he is a particular cat,
very
particular about his fishing, and it's got to be just right. And I don't blame him because, you don't want to waste time. It's like, hey, we could go today. We may or may not catch nothing because, as far as what we do here in Carolina All Out, honest to goodness, we need the best possible odds that we can get on any given day because of the show. We do produce this show. We produce 13 episodes a year, and each one of those cost a lot of money to do. And if we spend a lot of time, we could do, and believe me, we do enough shows where we don't catch or kill anything. And so those shows are just kind of, you'll never see anything about those for the most part. So if we go on a bad day or a day that Tyler says, yeah, this ain't the best day, I'm going to listen to Tyler. And so that's what's happened. Kind of the water's not high enough. The water's, this and that. So anyway, Tyler's particular. And so we've been trying to get together for a long time. So finally, I think the stars and the moon all lined up.
It finally happened.
It finally happened. And we couldn't have been more excited about it. And this came through our buddies Corey Oakley and Ben Ricks, who we've had on the show before. Everyone knows is the Two Bald Biologists from Better Fishing with Two Bald Biologists podcast. And they're great guys. And, they love fishing. They're all about promoting the sport of fishing. They knew Tyler. They talked to me about it. I'm sure maybe they talked to Tyler and said, hey, would you mind, let's doing this thing together. Of course, we're all saying, yeah, we know one another and we'd love to do this thing. So now we're here and February, was it February?
It was February, yeah.
February. And so let's pick it up from there. We meet at the boat ramp.
Yeah. So, and just like you said, Chris, I'm very particular on the situation, especially with because I've got a lot of weight on my shoulders too. I'm like, before y'all come and everybody's here and going with me, I'm like, man, it's got to be right or no dice. I ain't gonna waste your time. Just
right.
Like you said, a lot of money, it's a lot of time. That's a lot of time. So I'm not gonna do it. But this particular weekend that we plan, I said, well, I think it'll be good as long as the water maintains where it needs to be. And it was honestly, it couldn't have been better. It could not have been a better trip. So leaving the boat ramp, heading upriver to one of my favorite areas to fish on the Cape Fear River. We set out and Chris, man, golly, I think I think the only bait that we had was shad, which is a huge favorite of mine. For any time from like December to about March, middle of March, that's pretty much the only bait choice I'm gonna have. That's pretty much, if I ain't got shad, I probably my confidence is down. It's really low. But yeah, so fast forwarding like to the first spot, we're sitting there doing our intro and stuff, and I'm a little nervous because I'm like, okay, we ain't caught a fish yet. I'm like, oh man, because I already know, like in the wintertime, and that's what a lot of people don't know. In the wintertime is it can be some of the best catfishing you can imagine, and there's so many people that don't realize that. They think it's a summertime sport, and it's definitely not. But we're in February. It's cold. The water's high. Traditionally, it's conditions that people think is absolutely horrible. We're not going to catch anything. But I knew this is going to be a stellar day. Stellar day. So we get there, and we start fishing and stuff, and then it starts to pick up. The first spot, it took a little while. I think we caught maybe one small blue catfish, maybe 6-7 pounds maybe, to another spot. Started picking up maybe a couple little bigger. I said, okay, I got to make a few adjustments. And then throughout the rest of the day, Chris, I feel like we had them dialed in to where they were. We were marking them on our sonars and literally saying, hey, there's 2 right here. We turn around, throw out on, have them in the boat in like 5 minutes. And we just kept moving, bouncing around, and it just ended up being a terrific day. I think we caught maybe about 20 fish, flatheads and blue catfish.
Yeah, that was cool.
It was crazy. So I wasn't really expecting, flatheads in February too much, considering they're real dormant when it gets cold, and they'll get into these deep holes and stuff, and really won't eat a whole lot for a little while. But man, it was just a perfect day, perfect storm. I mean, it was we caught blues around 30-pound range, and then flatheads in around the 30s. And it was, at some point, it was just everybody had a rod in their hand. I mean, it was like, here, real, we got to catch them. I mean, and it's just so, it was almost a job because we were catching so many fish, and it was just great. It was just a perfect time, just a great trip.
My takeaway of that trip was the amount of moving that you do and the no more time than we spent. Because most people would say, gosh knows, I was raised up. Of course, if you're bank fishing, you ain't got it's a big place to go. Stay right there. So people are used to or oriented toward casting out and kicking back and and doing their thing for the next couple of hours because it just is. But not Tyler. Tyler is marking fish and catching fish and then moving. And if we're not catching in a spot, we're moving on pretty quick. So that was the takeaway that I got from that. It gave me confidence, honestly, that okay, I'm not catching anything here. They're not here. Let's
gone. Yeah. And that is a huge, one of my biggest tips that I always tell, whether it's a video, podcast, whatever. If anybody, and there's a lot of people that'll say, "Man, this dude's crazy for what he's about to say," but I'm gonna be honest with you. I can't speak for. I'm not a big lake fisherman. Okay, there could be variances and differences there that can make a difference. But and the spawn during the catfish spawn can absolutely make it tough to catch catfish. However, one of the biggest tips is that I'll tell anybody for any time of the year, any water level, it doesn't matter. If you've got the right bait and you're throwing out and you're not catching fish, you're simply not in the right spot. They're feeding. You will catch it. If you throw on this fish, you're going to catch. And I've proven, I'm the guy that's got to say, Tyler, I've got to prove that to myself tenfold, 100 times over before I'm confident enough to tell somebody that's the truth. And that's the truth. It's simply the truth. It's just simply the truth. It's, you can fish, and you may, man. And this is how I started learning this, Chris, is in my tournament years is I would fish, and man, I catch nothing. I would catch nothing sometimes. And we'd go to weigh in, but this guy over there, he's got like 30-pound fish. And I'm like, okay, they were feeding. They were somewhere in more of an abundance at the time. They just weren't where I was. I was not in the right spot. But you go talk to this guy, and man, yeah, Tyler caught 20 fish. Man, I killed him. It was the best trip ever. So you start thinking about that, and then you go again, and you may not do so good, and this guy's doing it, or vice versa. There's been plenty of trips where I'll go, and I'm just like we had, just the best day, just destroying the fish. But get to the ramp, and people come up and say, "Man, I only caught one fish, only caught whatever." I don't go say, "Yeah, man, I destroyed them." I'll say, "Yeah, got lucky or whatever, caught a few good ones." But in reality, I have just caught fish after fish after fish, and 40 miles down the river this way, these people are like, "Man, I ain't even had a bite." It's the difference in I was simply you're not doing it wrong. You're not doing it wrong. You're probably doing it right, same bait, everything. You're just not in the right spot. So that goes back to the 30 minutes and move. So just like we did, I throw out, and most of the time we had a fish on in maybe 5-10 minutes.
Oh yeah, it was fast.
It sometimes almost throw the rod out, grab the second one, he's already on.
Yeah.
And that's how I know I'm in the area that I need to be. And if we would have hit 2 or 3 spots and wouldn't have caught anything, I probably would have rode another 10 miles.
Right.
Until I find a big school of these fish, because especially in the wintertime, these blues and stuff, they'll kind of school up, and you'll find, when you find them, you find them. And if you catch one good fish, just know there's more good fish around. So you just got to kind of play it trial and error, and years of experience targeting these fish. It's definitely a very addicting, fun sport, but it's like I said, Chris, it just leads down to time on the water, and everybody experiences something a little bit different.
Right. Well, it was a fantastic day. I think everybody was impressed with it, and we understood real quickly why Tyler does as well as he does out there. But there's one for you. If you're there 30 minutes and nothing's happened, you may be in the wrong spot.
Very, very likely.
And if you think about it, you put 2 hours in this spot waiting on nothing to happen. Then you got 2 more hours at another place with nothing to happen. Your time frame, you've only fished maybe 2-3 places before the tournament's over, or before the time's over, that you have to spend fishing, and so you didn't have a whole lot of fun, did you?
That's right. So by the time you've sat here in 2 hours, and here 2 hours, and here 2 hours, and here 2 hours, well, you've hit 4 spots, but I've hit 20.
Right.
So my odds of like I said, tournament, it is a job.
You bet.
Because you're trying to move as quick, get the fish unhooked, get them in a live well, weigh them, whatever you got to do, pull in the anchor, whatever, and rip to the next spot and throw out. It can really be a job fishing this way. But for me personally, it has in our rivers, like the Neuse, Cape Fear, Rowan, I've done it on all of our rivers. That is, even out there on the PD River, it's the same. It's he's there, he ain't. It's really what gives me confidence to know I'm not doing it wrong, because sometimes when we get out here on the water and we're fishing and not catching, we think, well, maybe I need to add this to my line, or this rig, or this bait. They only wanted this bait. Do not overthink it. These fish are eating. They're eating, and if you're not catching, you're not where they're at. So just something to lift everybody's confidence up. If somebody's been going, because I get it all the time, Tyler, man, I've went 10 times, and I haven't caught anything over this size. And then I tell them, well, where are you fishing? Well, man, I'm sitting here all day. Or try moving. 45, he's there, he ain't. Just move. These catfish may not be moving like you think they're moving. In your head, you think they could just be swimming by, but really they're just staged up there, and they could be there for 2 weeks. They could be there a week, whatever it is. Depends on the bait and everything. There's so many variables.
Right.
But if anybody, whoever's listening, if you're out there on the water, give it 30, 45 minutes, and just reel in and move to another spot. And you'll find that when you set up in a spot, even if it's off the bank, you'll find that your action is going to come most of the time before that 30-minute mark, and then it's going to be a ghost town. It's going to be a ghost town because you've already caught the fish there. That's like why fishing off the bank, sometimes you set your rods up and you throw out. And if the water's low and it's not up and moving, sometimes if we got rapid rain and the river's rising, stuff like that, it can make these fish move rapidly. And then sometimes you can do really good in one spot. But most cases is you've got to move. You've got to just keep moving. And you'll find when you go out there, just pay attention on when did your bite happen and how soon did it happen. Did it come in 5 minutes? Did it come in 20? And did you catch anything else for the next hour? And just pay attention to that. And you'll see that 30 minutes a move is definitely the way to go.
Well, that's a good lesson to learn. If you're trying to find out more about catfishing, and just that tip alone, to me, like I said, it gave me confidence to be able to just go, he's not here, and I don't know what's going on underneath the water there. I mean, if I'm thinking about a river, I'm thinking about a piece of bait that's sitting there on the bottom or close to the bottom, and there is a potential scent trail that's going out from that. I don't know how much surrounds it. And I don't know what that fish now, if a fish hits it up there, more than a lot, where he falls into that trail, whatever it might be, I don't know how far he tracks from there. I like to envision that it's getting out there pretty good ways, and he's tracking and he's trying to find it. It might take him 30 minutes to get to it if he was down far enough. I also envision that if the flow is here and the catfish happens to be staged up above it, he's not smelling it at all, has no clue that it's even there, and it could be within striking range of it if he only knew. So, that's another thing that goes through my head. I probably think too much.
No, it's a very confusing sport. Like, it's simple, but it's not. It's really challenging.
Right.
Like, it is so, Chris, there is so much water temp. What's running? Is the shad running? Is the brim spawning? What is going on? There's so many things that drives these fish just to like a light switch and start moving like crazies. One day you're catching, you can't do nothing but catch fish. The very next 2 weeks, man, you can't find a fish.
Right.
They've moved. There's so many things. There's just so many. You can't even explain it. I mean, I'd have to write a book on it. And I don't even know if the book would have enough pages.
Yeah, well, maybe that'll be one of your next things in the future. We'll talk about the future things. I tell you, it's a great place to take a break, and we're going to talk a lot more with Tyler and actually get into the future. Maybe a book is in your future.
It could be. Yeah.
The Cat Man. I can see it now. I can see it now with Tyler holding that big. If you've ever seen that picture of him holding up the state record, it's very impressive. Go to his TikTok page. Go to YouTube channel he has going on now. Also Facebook, very popular place for you to do it. And just dig around a little bit, or you probably could just type in North Carolina State Flathead record, and you'll see Tyler with this giant fish and Crocs on.
Yep, man, that's my go-to.
That's his go-to thing.
That's the most important thing in catfishing. If you ain't wearing Crocs, you might as well just stay at the house, man.
I love it. Well, this is a great place to take a break, and we'll be talking more with Tyler Barnes right after this. Hey, make sure you watch Carolina All Out on our YouTube channel and catch us on a live TV Mondays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays. And coming this summer, we'll be airing nationally on the Pursuit channel 4 times a week, spreading the good news to all who will listen about our great state and what she has to offer. At some point in your life, I'm betting you have probably thrown a piece of bait on a hook into one of our great state's 7 amazing sounds. If you have, you know how magical they are. Well, that magic is under threat and has been for a long time. That's where the North Carolina Marine and Estuary Foundation comes in, an organization dedicated to improving management practices, educating the public, and developing practical solutions. They want to see North Carolina become the premier fishing destination in the country. And I do too. Visit ncmeffoundation.org to learn more about this wonderful organization and how you can do your part in protecting the 7 jewels of North Carolina and a whole lot more. And welcome back to the Carolina All Out Fins, Fur, and Feathers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Douglas. We've been in the studio with Tyler Barnes, and if you don't know who Tyler is, just go to TikTok. Tyler, how do they find you on TikTok?
Yeah, so under TikTok, my handle would be Tyler Barnes _ catfishing. On Facebook, it would just be Tyler Barnes, and then on YouTube, it would be under For Real Fishing.
For Real Fishing. We'll get into For Real Fishing here in just a little bit there, but we've been talking with Tyler about all the things that's gone on in his life that's brought him to this point where he's quite the famous cat fisherman, and we're proud. North Carolina's proud to call him their own. Born down in Wayne County in Pikeville, North Carolina, And shout out to the Neuse River down there and all those good folks around that area. We have a lot of people that follow us down there on Carolina All Out, and we love you. We thank you very much, and hopefully you'll find some entertainment here. We're talking with a local boy there. Speaking of, let's just talk about For Real Fishing. Now, we all have our brands that we love, and we all are kind of oriented toward those kind of brands, whether it's T-shirts, whether it's hats, whether it's fishing gear per se, directed at fishing gear. And so you decided to start a brand yourself there. So talk to me about it.
Yeah, so the name For Real Fishing, it originated from TikTok. I remember it very well. I was on the Cape Fear River in a similar area we shot our film at and our episode. And at the time, I was on TikTok doing a live stream video. I don't think this was a tournament or anything. I think it was just a good time just going out fishing, having the camera on, talking, and within that social media platform, when you go live, there's like a chat room in there. And at this time, I've been doing live shows pretty heavy. Almost every week, I would go at least live doing something. Catfishing related fishing, preferably on the water, actually catching fish and showing people. Well, over time, when you get on these social media platforms, you build a following and the chat, and then there's people that continuously come in and they want to be in there and chat with you and hang out. It's a great platform. So just building relationships with people all around the world, honestly, it's pretty amazing. Remembering people's names and stuff, they become like a family to you, really. And just amazing people. I've talked to so many people, just wonderful people. And I tell you, one day, I guess everybody noticed that I would say "for real" a lot. For real, it's like for real. They would say something in the chat, and I'd read it, and I say for real. I would just and I guess I do, and I know I did, and I guess I didn't know I said it that much.
Right.
Well, then that kind of led into some people saying, Tyler, why don't you start a brand? And I was like, what are you guys talking about? Like, what do you mean? And they said, I said, well, what would I call it? And they said, how about For Real Fishing? And I was like, yeah, kind of like with the number 4, and then like real, like REEL, right? And then and they're like, yeah, let's do it. And I'm like, well, what would we do? What do we do? And then it started out just like apparel,
right?
Like hats and shirts and things. I've actually got one of them here, just For Real Fishing here on the front, logo on the back, but. It started out with some hats and building a website and hyping everybody else up about it. And then April 1st of last year, we launched and sold out everything in one day. And I'm like, this is insane. This is incredible, the support that we're getting on this. Mm-hmm. So going live and talking to people and creating Facebook pages. I mean, it's really grown pretty rapidly. So it's really turned into something that you think at the time, or at least I thought was, hey, that'll be cool, have a little brand and put it out there and see what happens, to where we've made a website and we've actually got affiliates for the brand and we've got people represent For Real Fishing all over the country, and we've shipped over 40 states in the matter of from April of last year to now. And it's pretty amazing the power of social media. Mm-hmm. And so from here on, this has really, along with Chris, being passionate about catfishing, I'm also passionate about growing this brand, because this brand has a meaning of unity within us anglers across the country. Mm-hmm. No matter what fishing it is, of course, I'm a cat fisherman, but it's For Real Fishing. There's something for everybody, and we're going to be having videos, highlighting and stuff and products one day. Right now, you can go to the website at www.forrealfishing.com and see what we have now. We're in the process of building a new website, launching some fantastic new products, and just really what the goal is, Chris, for this brand is to educate people about fishing in general. We're going to be bringing on brand ambassadors and affiliates that specialize in different types of fishing across the country. And, we're looking at, like I said, bringing these people on, spreading the word, getting more people in and letting people know that For Real Fishing is a brand for everybody.
Right.
It's about unity, positivity within the sport. And not only are we educating people, we want people to have our gear. We want people to wear our gear, use our equipment, whatever we may come out with, whether it could be fishing poles, it could be, there's no telling what may happen in the future. You never know. But we're really pushing to build this brand to not only build a successful brand, but to bring people in and highlight those anglers on our social media pages. We want to take these people that are out catfishing, wearing our gear. We want to highlight them on our social media. So we get it. We post every day. You go For Real Fishing on Facebook. I think we're at 68,000 followers now. In just a short time frame, and you'll see that we're posting videos and pictures of anglers. We may get pictures of somebody holding up a catfish, having our apparel on. We'd like to take your photo, post it on there with your permission, and highlight you as the angler. Congratulations on your catch, because I know how important it is to how it feels to be recognized, right? How it feels to be recognized, and everybody, he may have caught a 10-pound catfish, and to a lot of people, but it could be a small catfish, but to that person, that is a life-changing fish, and that's how he may start his journey onto growing into something that he never thought would happen in his life. So I know what social media and what just everything has done for me, and I feel like, Chris, with the power of social media, catfishing as a sport, the companies that help represent me and the companies I represent as well, all working together with For Real Fishing, I really see For Real Fishing being a huge brand that you're going to see everywhere, and I'm very excited to see where it goes, because I think it's going to be something, a staple in the fishing industry that's not going anywhere. That's gonna do a lot more than people ever imagine.
Well, that's good. I mean, anytime anybody starts, everybody has visions of grandeur, right? Whenever it's going to be a popular brand, and it's going to be Salt Life, or it's going to be something like that, and even when we started, the apparel brand and that sort of thing, but it takes a lot of work to do that. I understand totally, coming from our experience, what it takes to maintain a brand, keep that going, promote it, and that sort of thing. So it's a big undertaking. So hats off to you for that. But also, like, the whole story behind it and what For Real Fishing means, and then what you're wanting it to accomplish for people. Because yes. We see it all the time. I mean, from the industry I came out of, where giant whitetails was everything, and I've been experienced those great places in the Midwest and Canada where these big bucks come from. But we have always felt the same about that North Carolina buck. The guy that takes his first, and I love seeing those pictures of young guys, old two first timers or whatever, and they take a buck, whether it's in front of the dogs or whether they take it out of the deer stand, a shot there, or with a bow, whatever it might be. And they're proud of it. And if you put it in comparison, this is not apples to apples. This is not relative. This is like you put it up against a 180 to 200-inch whitetail from Ohio or something like that. It doesn't even compare. But in actuality, in my opinion, it does compare.
Yes,
because
it does.
this is something that happened for this guy. This guy might not have but just a few days a week that he can hunt, or a few days in a deer season he can hunt. And if he gets that done, that's a big accomplishment. And my hat's off to him. I salute him. And we want that, and that's probably where we fail the most, is we've not created our brand where we can actually bring in those photos there. But you got me thinking more and more about it, that we should really open up the door for people to be able to send more photos in to us, and we post those. And I really love that. I really do. I think it's great, because a fish is important to people.
Well, it is, and Chris, like I said, I can't. There's, beyond fishing, there's just been so many amazing things that I've been blessed with in my life, and it's just no matter what. Fishing, social media, everything, and I know just I want to make sure that I take this opportunity with the brand and everything, and just really just surround the brand with positivity from all around the country, and bring in so many phenomenal anglers, and just highlight these people, and really really just motivate them, educate them, and just man, I just see an amazing opportunity here for not only just for real fishing, but for just anglers everywhere. Because just like we said, everybody likes to get recognized, and everybody likes to pat on the back. Hey, congratulations on your catch or kill, whatever it is, because it is so important to that person. It may not be directly, as important to me because I'm not that person, but I know how happy he is or she, it could be either way, and I know they want to tell all of their friends, and they want to tell their family, and they want pictures, and they want this, and they want to mount them on the wall, and they want this. And I want everybody to know that here at For Real Fishing, we're here to congratulate you, and we want to help take you and blast you all over social media because you deserve that moment.
Yeah, that's
Absolutely.
good stuff. Good stuff. Well, that's what we want for fishing. It's what we want for hunting. We want it to be a positive experience in the world of negativity.
Yep.
Surrounding that,
Oh, man. Lord have mercy. Yes.
Yeah. So we want to, I'm jumping in there with Tyler. He's got his 4-wheel fishing. We've got our Carolina all out. We want that to be a positive experience, a positive thing for people. And so I'm very, very pleased to hear that. And it's great to see that people have those down home, very fundamental roots, fundamental mindset that, there needs to be a positive thing in this world. And so that's what we're about. And we can do it through hunting and fishing.
Absolutely.
Catfishing
Take
specifically.
it to the bank.
Yep.
You ain't lying.
Those slick looking things that lurk on the bottom of the river or the lake or wherever it might be is something that's bringing people together, binding them in a love for it.
It's amazing.
And it's amazing what fish can do. A whole
amazing.
industry built around that thing. So
It's incredible.
Well, that's awesome. Let's move on to Tyler, and we're kind of touching on the future there. But what's Tyler got headed into the future here? What do you want to be? What do you want to do?
So full speed ahead, Chris. For right now, in everybody's life, you always think, hey, this is where I'm going. This is what I'm gonna do. And then something you never know in the long term. But for right now, my goal is to continue to push the education of catching catfish to people all around the world, and especially in North Carolina. Right here in North Carolina, Chris, we got some of the best catfishery rivers in the world. Really, it's incredible. It's just some phenomenal places.
When I was a kid growing up on the farm in little old Lee County, periodically and usually in the fall after selling tobacco or in the early spring when it was time to start breaking ground, my family would make a trip to what seemed like a faraway place called AgriSupply. AgriSupply had everything we needed to keep the farm running, but it's so much more. From repairing trailers to parts for discs and plows, to livestock feed, to lawn and garden, to all that beautiful cast iron cookware. That tradition is still going on, but AgriSupply is now in 9 locations across the Southeast. If you haven't been to an AgriSupply store before, just go. You don't have to have a farm or a fleet of trucks to go in. The public is welcome. I guarantee you'll find something you need. And if you don't need it, I bet you'll want it. AgriSupply, it's what's inside. At some point in your life, I'm betting you have probably thrown a piece of bait on a hook into one of our great state's 7 amazing sounds. If you have, you know how magical they are. Well, that magic is under threat and has been for a long time. That's where the North Carolina Marine and Estuary Foundation comes in, an organization dedicated to improving management practices, educating the public, and developing practical solutions. They want to see North Carolina become the premier fishing destination in the country. And I do too. Visit ncmeffoundation.org to learn more about this wonderful organization and how you can do your part in protecting the 7 jewels of North Carolina and a whole lot more. Okay, Tyler, so let's talk about the future of Tyler Barnes and where your dreams or you're hoping to go to, what you can kind of see already in the future and that sort of thing.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely, Chris. So, for me, Chris, right now, I want to continue the path that I'm heading down right now, which is educating people, getting them into the sport of catfishing, building awareness on the sport that has changed my life. Because like I've said through the whole podcast, is I know what it's done for me. I know how much joy I get out of it. And I know for sure that there are so many people that would have just as great a time with this sport that I just like I do, but may not be aware or may not know how it's evolved. And like we said, it's more than chicken livers on the bank. There's so much more. It's just a great opportunity for so many people. And I can see over just the past few years, man, the sport is just taking off, and it's continuing to grow. And I don't know if I'm helping with that or not, but I feel like I might be a little, and I want to continue just helping people, making videos and content. And same for For Real Fishing, the brand. The future that I see the brand going to is hopefully we're in a bunch of retail stores all across the states. That's what we're hoping for. But it's slow and steady wins the race, and like we talked about, building a brand and in shipping and doing things. It definitely takes an army to really do. But in my mind, I see a vision that is so remarkable that I have to see it through. I have to make sure this happens, because I like I said, I definitely think in just a few years' time the brand For Real Fishing and the sport of catfishing is going to just explode. Just from the help of the way we're going to do it is from the help of anglers from all over the world. All over the country, at least, and bringing everybody in and spreading the awareness through social media from all of these states and stuff. It's going to be a monopoly effect that's going to just blow up and be great. But that's really what the future is, Chris, is for me for right now. You never know what opportunities may come in the future, or there may be another avenue, there may be something. But for right now, just me making the content, building the brand, building a team, and just promoting it from just everywhere, and spreading the awareness, and just celebrating people's personal best catches, their biggest kills, whatever it may be from all over. That's really just what we're focused on right now. Just growing and making one of the biggest, most positive, influential brands in the industry. That's my goal.
Not a bad goal.
It's a big one.
It's a big one, but it's accomplishable. I believe that. And somebody as driven as you are, there's no doubt that you can do that. And we hope the best for you. And we're glad to know you, and glad to be to play a little part in what you've got going on, because we didn't mention this in the earlier part of the podcast when we were talking about the show we did. This show that we did with Tyler that we were describing that day is visible, and you can watch it on YouTube. And we call that the Cape Fear Cold Water Cats. If you're looking for it out there on our channel, on the Carolina All Out channel, it's a nice little it's a good show.
Man,
we did a little premiere with it, and there was a few people watching it.
Heck yeah, fantastic! I think it was great, man.
Yeah, I think so.
I think the show was great, and all of y'all shows, man, Chris, are just fantastic. Y'all do such a fantastic job.
Well, we appreciate it. We work hard at it, and well, they say it might not be the best, but you won't outwork me. So that's right. All I can say.
That's it. That's right.
Because we're here in the studio, we're here next door over in my suite on a regular basis, and our team is over there working, doing the things. In fact, old Josh would be here. Everybody knows old Josh is usually here. And Josh has got a show to get out today, and he told me, he said, I'd love to be here to talk to Tyler. I have a lot of questions for him, but you're going to have to go this one alone because I've got to get this show done. I like that. That's dedication, and I need that. I have to have those kind of people equally as dedicated to what we're doing, and you know the same thing.
Absolutely.
There. So now that we know Tyler from the beginning to where he's going in the future, we like to always do these rapid-fire rounds at the end of the show just to kind of quickly give a little taste of what Tyler is all about to people, and they can quickly connect. So, oh yeah, I'm that, or I might have Tyler beat on that, or whatever it might be, and that sort of thing there. So I'm going to throw these out there. You can give me, kind of short answers for them, but that kind of helps move through this part of the show pretty quickly. So, put the glasses on here. Okay, all right. Of your catfish species, what is your favorite?
Flathead.
Flathead. All right. I want to go into that and why, when and where. We might come back to that, but this is a rapid round, so we'll care. Personal best blue cat?
68 pounds.
Personal best channel cat?
18.
8. Well, that's a good one.
All from the noose.
All from the noose. Okay, gotcha. Your favorite river?
Probably Noose River.
Noose. Yeah, I would expect that. All right. Do you eat fish?
Yeah, mainly saltwater.
Right.
Crappie. I'll eat crappie. Catfish is good.
Yeah,
Catfish is really. But yeah, I'm a fish eater for
So,
sure.
what's your favorite?
I would probably.
It could be saltwater and freshwater.
I would say my favorite freshwater is crappie for sure, and I would say saltwater would probably be sea mullet. But I'm a huge fan of things like oysters and shrimp and stuff too. Yeah, I mean, man, I could eat them by the gallons. I mean,
You ain't joking. I can't wait. That season's coming up for oysters pretty soon. We'll be at the Sunnyside and the Williamston. I love that oyster bar down there. It's
gonna be great.
Thing. Yep. What's your favorite rig as far as the rig for catfishing and that sort of thing?
Yep, just your traditional Carolina rig or sinker slider rig, where you've got your main line and you've got a sinker slider that goes up and down the line where you clip your weight on. You got a simple barrel swivel. You got your leader line, and then you've got your hook. And it's pretty much a very simple rig. You know, catfishing is very simple. It's very effective rig, and it's really all you need.
Gotcha. What's your favorite bait to put on the end of that rig?
In the summer months, it would be live bluegill and eel, whether that's live or cut eel. And in the winter months, it would be shad, 100%. Yeah.
Gotcha. The shad. And now you're talking about the shad, whatever you can get a hold of at that time, or the gizzards, or on the noose, you could be getting a hold of whites or the hickories, right?
Yep. So all three of them is they're fantastic. All three of them, especially when the white and hickory shad are running and spawning up the rivers. But primarily I would probably say the number one catfish bait available to pretty much anybody anywhere would be the gizzard shad. They're pretty much in every body of water. I mean, they're in your ponds. I'm learning about that myself recently. As I always thought that you had to just catch them in the rivers, but man, there's farm ponds and stuff everywhere that these shad are just, and they're about hundreds and nobody knows because you really can't catch them on rod and reel. But they've established in there, whether it's a pond with a creek that's running through it, you guarantee there's going to be shad in there. Guarantee it. I've seen it way too many times now, but you can cast net them at dams and things like that. They're here all year. But during the fall months, winter months, they'll kind of run upstream and get bottled up at these dams and stuff like that, up creeks, up to spillways and stuff, and you can cast net them pretty easy.
I got you. There. Well, that's very cool. Well, those are some of the things. You might have you ain't gonna have much. There ain't gonna be that many people that's got him beat on the. Well, I shouldn't say that. I know the blues get on up there in hundreds of pounds, and there's some guys that's got some big ones.
Yeah, a 68. So the personal best blue is 68 pounds. That from the Noose River, and that's the biggest blue I've ever heard of caught on the river on the Noose. But as far as like size in general, that's a little fish. I mean, these blues, like world records, I think 143 or 144 at Carr Lake. I mean, they're massive. They're insane. So a 68 pound is absolutely not. I mean, that's beatable by a whole bunch of people. Definitely not a big blue catfish. Yeah.
Well, there's a few people that might have Tyler beat then.
Yeah, absolutely. No, hands down. Yeah, you got me. You got me on that.
So feel good about yourself, because you ain't going to beat him on the Flathead probably anytime soon, but maybe so. I don't know. These records are funny things. They can stand for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, and then all of a sudden they get broken, and they get broke again really close together.
Incredible.
Yeah. So, and I think that may have even happened with the blue cap.
Yeah, it's happened. A good friend of mine, Zach Royce, Lake Gaston, he runs a very successful guide up there. He, I don't exactly remember the years, but or year it happened, but he caught state record blue cap. It was, I think, 91 pounds. Then had it certified, went back to the same spot the very next day, and broke it again. It was 105. He caught the state record twice in 24 hours, and just going back to how does catfishing change life? Well, certainly that changed his life forever. I mean, he's all over sportsman magazines and things. He's everywhere. It's very, very famous. That it's incredible. It's amazing what a fish will do for you. It's crazy.
Well, it's very good. Thank you, Tyler, for coming on the show with us, and thank you for doing the show with us back earlier in this year. And again, if you guys want to see the show, go to our YouTube channel. It is airing on Pursuit. In fact, it'll be airing again coming up here in another couple of weeks. Please check it out and go to and check out Tyler and follow him, because he's got a lot of great content coming out, and you'll learn something from it. And that's the biggest thing. And you'll probably be inspired. And that's another wonderful thing about what Tyler's doing out there for the catfish world. But we thank you all for joining us here on this episode of the Fins, Fur, and Feathers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Douglas. We hope to see you again very soon. When I was a kid growing up on the farm in little old Lee County, periodically and usually in the fall after selling tobacco, or in the early spring when it was time to start breaking ground, my family would make a trip to what seemed like a faraway place called AgriSupply. AgriSupply had everything we needed to keep the farm running, but it's so much more. From repairing trailers to parts for discs and plows, to livestock feed, to lawn and garden, to all that beautiful cast iron cookware. That tradition is still going on, but AgriSupply is now in 9 locations across the Southeast. If you haven't been to an AgriSupply store before, just go. You don't have to have a farm or a fleet of trucks to go in. The public is welcome. I guarantee you'll find something you need. And if you don't need it, I bet you'll want it. AgriSupply, it's what's inside.